This past week, we've been taking a look into every Power 5 conference. For each conference, I've been picking the best player from every team in that respective conference. So far, we've talked about the Pac-12, Big 12, and Big 10 in case you missed those videos. Today, we're going to be talking about the SEC. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. We'll kick off this video with Alabama, where the honor goes to linebacker Will Anderson. He's the best defensive player in the entire country, and he might have a historic 2022 season. I mean, it's going to be pretty tough to top the 2021 campaign he had, but he just might do it. Anderson won the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, which goes to the nation's top defensive player. He was also named the SEC's Defensive Player of the Year and was a first-team All-American by essentially every outlet out there. He had 34.5 tackles for loss, which led the country. He also had 17.5 sacks as well. Anderson also added 9 quarterback hurries to go along with 3 pass breakups. Like I mentioned earlier, it's tough to have a much better season than the one he had last year, but it's entirely possible. Getting the honor for Georgia is going to be Brock Bowers. Now, it's one thing to be the best player in the entire country at your position, but it's another to do it while you're a true freshman. Bowers is by far the best tight end in the country, and he'll be the #1 target for Stetson Bennett in 2022. Last season, he was named to the AP and coaches All-SEC first team. He finished the season as Georgia's leading receiver, finishing with 56 catches for 900 yards and 13 receiving touchdowns. He established Georgia tight end records for single-season receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. His 10 receptions in the SEC title game were the most ever for a tight end. Bowers had 4 games last season with at least 100+ receiving yards, and he'll likely have a lot more this season. We'll talk about Tennessee and one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the entire country in Hendon Hooker. He wasn't even the starting quarterback to begin the season for the Volunteers. He became Tennessee's first Davey O'Brien Award semifinalist since 2006. He racked up more than 3,500 yards of total offense, which ranked 4th in the SEC and the 4th most in Tennessee single-season history. He shattered 2 school single-season records, passer efficiency rating and completion percentage. Hooker also led the SEC and ranked 3rd in the FBS with 181.4 passing efficiency rating. His 68% completion percentage was 2nd in the SEC and top 15 in the country. For the season, he threw for just under 3,000 yards with 31 passing touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Of the 72 FBS quarterbacks who attempted at least 300 passes during the season, Hooker was tied for the fewest interceptions among those. We'll go to Auburn and talk about edge rusher Derek Hall. The SEC coaches named him All-SEC second team in 2021. He was named the Great Southern Wood Team Lineman of the Year. He had a career year in 2021, essentially doubling his numbers from the previous 2 seasons combined. Last year for the Tigers, Hall totaled 52 tackles, with 12.5 coming for loss and 9 sacks. He was 3rd in the SEC in sacks and 9th in tackles for loss. Hall also added 2 forced fumbles. He showed up on the biggest stage, as his best game of the season came against Alabama, where he had 3.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. We'll head to LSU and talk about wide receiver Keyshawn Beauchamp. We've seen LSU send some really good wide receivers into the NFL recently, and it looks like they'll be sending another. He appeared in only 6 games last season for the Tigers, but was on pace to have some of the best numbers among all wide receivers in the country. In half a season last year, he caught 40 passes for 500 yards and 9 receiving touchdowns. In 16 career games, he's caught 83 passes for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. We're gonna have to see who's throwing him the ball in 2022, but he has a chance to not only be the best wide receiver in the conference, but one of the best wide receivers in the entire country. For Florida, we'll talk about linebacker Brenton Cox Jr. After jumping onto the scene in 2020, he really put his name on the map and emerged as one of the best linebackers in the SEC in 2021. He finished the season with 14.5 tackles for loss, the 6th most in the conference. He also added 8 sacks, the 8th most in the conference. Cox also broke up 4 passes and added a forced fumble as well. We'll go to Kentucky with running back Chris Rodriguez Jr. He had quite the 2021 campaign, as he was named first team All-SEC by the AP and second team by the coaches. He ranked in the top 20 nationally and 2nd in the SEC in rushing yards with just under 1,400. He ranked number 12 in the country and 2nd in the SEC, averaging 106 rushing yards per game. He was second in the SEC in rushing yards per carry at 6.1. In 2021, he had 900+ yard rushing games, a new Kentucky record. He also had a streak of 5 consecutive games with a rushing touchdown, the second longest streak in school history. Rodriguez has had quite the career so far with the Wildcats, as his 2,700 career rushing yards are the 6th most in program history. His 26 rushing touchdowns are the 2nd most. We'll go to Texas A&M and talk about defensive back Antonio Johnson. He was named to the AP's All-SEC second team in 2021 and was named to Pro Football Focus's All-American first team. He was second on A&M with 79 tackles, third with 5 pass breakups, and fourth with 8.5 tackles for loss. Following the season, Texas A&M gave him the Defensive Mr. Dependable Skill Award and the Defensive Playmaker Award. We'll go to South Carolina and talk about cornerback Cam Smith. He was named second team All-SEC by the AP in 2021. He allowed multiple catches in just 2 of the 11 games he played in, and only 15 catches on 32 targets the entire season. He was tied for 6th on the team with 41 tackles, including 31 solo tackles. He led the Gamecocks with 14 passes defended, including 11 pass breakups and 3 interceptions. His 1.3 passes defended per game were the 2nd most in the entire conference and the 9th most in the country. His 11 pass breakups were the 2nd most in the conference as well. He had 3 interceptions, which tied him for the 5th most in the SEC. The top player for Arkansas is linebacker Bumper Poole. He's been all over the field the last 2 seasons for the Razorbacks. Poole was named to the SEC's All-First Team last season. He finished with the team high and career high 125 tackles in 2021. It was the 3rd most in the SEC and the 9th most in the entire country. He also added 7.5 tackles for loss and 2 pass breakups. In his 4 seasons with Arkansas, he's racked up 350 total tackles, 23 tackles for loss, and 16 pass breakups. We'll move on to Mississippi State and cornerback Emmanuel Forbes. He first jumped onto the scene in 2020 as a freshman. He had 44 tackles and 5 interceptions, 3 of which he returned for touchdowns. At the end of the season, he received multiple accolades, including being named to the 2020 Freshman All-SEC team and the 24/7 Sports True Freshman All-American team. He then emerged as one of the best cornerbacks in the SEC last season. He totaled 59 tackles with 5 coming for loss while breaking up 4 passes with 3 more interceptions. We'll go to Ole Miss. Sorry Rebels fans, but this one is going to be a short one. I got their best player being offensive lineman Nick Broeker. Now, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Every team needs to have a stud in the trenches. There's just not more than I can add other than the fact that Athlon Sports projects him to be a first-team All-SEC offensive lineman this season, so you got that to be excited about. For Missouri, the honor goes to defensive lineman Isaiah McGuire. He finished 4th on the team with 55 tackles last season. His 14 tackles for loss ranked 2nd on the Tigers, and his 6 sacks led the team. McGuire also broke up a pass and had a forced fumble. We'll wrap up this video at the bottom with Vanderbilt. Linebacker Anthony Orji gets the honor. He was actually pretty good last season for the Commodores, as he led the team with 93 tackles and had 13 tackles for loss. He finished 12th in the SEC in total tackles. He also added 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, 2 quarterback hurries, and a forced fumble. He had at least 1 tackle for loss in 8 of 12 games last season, including 6 of 8 SEC games. Well, that wraps it up for today's video. Was there a player who I should have had for their respective team? Whoever should have been on this list, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.